Hello everyone and welcome to episode 2 of OchoSeis. I'm your host Steve Johnson, once again with James Reid. James, how are you going today, sir?
Good, man. And yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Hey, the weather's not too bad out there.
I know, it's a big change from normal.
For once, yeah. And speaking of good things, we're talking about the Cleveland Browns today.
Oh, fantastic. Cannot wait for this topic.
I don't know if that's good, but yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to hit you with some facts, just some random facts, some Cleveland Brown facts. Just tell me, honestly, off the top of your head, if you actually know this one. Did you know that the Cleveland Browns were the first 2-point conversion in NFL history?
No, I can't say I did.
Did you know that the Browns are the first team to open a season with 5 different game outcomes?
No. Does it say what outcomes?
Yes. So in 2018, the Browns. So the 3 ways you can finish an NFL game is win, lose, or tie. Now the other 2 is win in overtime or lose in overtime, right?
Yep.
So that's the 5. So in 2018, Cleveland played the Steelers to a 21-21 tie in the opener. Then they lost by a field goal to the Saints. Week 3, they won their first game to the Jets 21-17. So that's the 1-1-1 trifecta, the draw, the loss, the win.
Yep.
Then the next week, they dropped a 45-42 overtime loss to Oakland. And then the following week, they beat the Baltimore Ravens in overtime 12-9. So they pulled off the Quinfecta.
Yeah, right.
How cool is that?
That's a cool stat.
Yeah. Keep going. We've got another one. Did you know that there was a Browns player? So since 2001, 20 players from 15 NFL teams have made the Madden cut. Cleveland has made it. Do you know which player?
Josh Cribbs.
No. I'll give you a clue. It was Madden 12.
Oh. Peyton Hillis.
Yes, that's correct. So 1,654 yards from scrimmage in 2010
Not bad
is what
for a
his
fullback.
stats were. Yeah, and he won the... he is the prime example, basically, of the Madden curse, though. He played in only 10 games that season and moved on to his 3rd team in 4 years by 2012.
Yeah, not good. Not good.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good one. What else is there? I guarantee you'll know this one. It took the Browns 30 guys to find their franchise quarterback. 30 quarterbacks since 1999.
Yes. Yes, it did. Quite depressing.
So some key names that this article mentions is Tim Couch, Brady Quinn, and Derek Anderson. Derek Anderson being the last Browns quarterback to lead them to a winning season in 2007.
And he was terrible. So that was a good effort.
Yeah. And the last one, the coolest, this is my favourite oddball fact. It's so back in 1982, the NFL had a strike season, which went to a shortened season. So there was only 9 games played. The Browns scored a record of 4-5 overall. They actually got in as a wildcard team.
Wow.
Oh, and then they lost to the Raiders in the first round of the playoffs on 27-10. But I can't believe they actually got into the playoffs on 4 games. That's amazing.
I can't believe they made playoffs. That was probably the last time they did.
As a Bills fan, as well as a Browns fan, we both know that pain.
Yeah.
Rightio. So let's jump straight into it, mate. I'm going to let you take control of this.
Yeah, so I thought what we'll do is go for a bit of a recap of how we went last year fantasy-wise.
Yep.
As well as just talking about regular season and what kind of to expect for the season coming up.
Yep. So this is all obviously Browns related.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. So yeah, get us in there.
So obviously last year was a very up and down year for the Browns as a whole. Not just fantasy, but just in general.
Yep. Who was his most disappointing player, do you think? And who was the best player, do you think, for your team?
I think a lot of people say that OBJ didn't perform up to the standard that they were hoping. I don't know if that's fair. He still had over 1,000 yards and kind of did everything you could almost expect out of him in that offense. So I wasn't overly disappointed in him. I think disappointments go, you had David Njoku. However, he obviously got injured a lot. Rashad Higgins was another one that in 2018 had quite a big year. Looked like he would break out for the season after, and then something obviously happened and he got put in the doghouse, and He scored a grand
Oh,
total.
I know that one.
A grand total of
Bloody hell.
11.5 fantasy points for the year.
Wow, that's fucking sad. Maybe you could just fucking take Robert Foster off us guys and kick him to the curb.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It was... Look, going through the fantasy, there wasn't a whole lot of big contributions. We only had 4 guys, I think it was, that hit over 100 fantasy points.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
And obviously one of them's the quarterback.
Yeah.
Obviously Nick Chubb would have hit 100.
Yep.
Who else hit 100? Do you know?
Yeah, Jarvis and OBJ were the only other 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
Kareem Hunt in 8 games scored about 70 odd.
Not too bad for a backup.
We had a mix of like 4 different tight ends throughout the season, so they're all around that 40 mark.
Do you think that bringing in Hooper is a good idea? I think I asked you this last week, but do you think it'll tighten up the tight end position?
Look, I think it'll help. It might not help fantasy, but I think it'll help the Browns overall.
Yep.
I think having Stefanski come in and take over is very much needed. They'll at least have some strategy going into it and
Yep.
just some consistency with the coaching down to the players. I think
Yeah.
it kind of got left to the players to work out what they should or shouldn't do.
Yep.
And I don't know.
We can get into coaching a bit later, but yeah, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, you're up. But yeah, so that's a quick recap. There wasn't anyone else really that performed a whole lot.
Yeah.
But
Okay. What about going into this season? Is there, as a Browns fan, maybe like you said, that it's not always fantasy related. Like some guys might not perform well in fantasy, but they perform well in real life. But in terms of fantasy only, is there any Browns that you would expect to hit over 100 this year that didn't last year?
probably not at this point in time. Everyone's kind of locked in to being the starters of each position.
Yeah.
Like
Any Browns players that you think are is that you would take in your team, apart from Chubb, because he's obvious?
I think Baker Mayfield, depending on where the coaching lies, could be actually a good one. He's got plenty of weapons. He's got quite a decent offensive line. It just depends on if he gets his confidence back, which is a big part.
I would love it if you could take Myles Garrett as an offensive player, because he'd just leave with the helmet and you'd get heaps of points.
Yeah, you just run around the battlefield swinging.
Fucking rage lords in Cleveland, love it.
Yeah, but overall, look, I think Baker will be a good upside. I think he's a high floor player.
Yep.
And could have a very high ceiling.
Yep.
But worst case scenario, I think you're still going to hit probably that 250 odd points mark, which would put him how did he finish last year? If we go by overall last year, 250 would place you within the top
probably.
15, probably.
Yeah, I was going to say probably 10-ish, 15-ish, probably something like that. He should be aiming for that, to be honest, I think.
He should be aiming top 10 at least.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good names in the top 10, don't mind. There's not many that'll probably drop out of that top 10, but it just depends if he can outperform, I suppose.
So the Browns, obviously being a team that got very hyped last year, seem to be probably... Are they still getting that same hype this year?
They're definitely not being as overhyped, which is great. It will help a few of their egos settle a little. But I think that there is still quite a buzz around Cleveland. It's kind of mixed between some of your analysts. Some are real high on them. Some are just like, no, I've already been burnt. Don't want a bar of it.
Yeah, which is fair enough, I guess, as well.
To be honest, I think a second year with the defense, not talking just especially fantasy, but just the Browns in general, I think the defense will be probably the biggest difference this year. Picked up a lot of good pieces on the defense.
Who were they? Just out of curiosity.
We picked up... I can't think of his name. Sorry, blanking.
Myles Garrett too.
Well, we get him back.
You cloned him.
We get Olivia Vernon back. We get Denzel Ward hopefully healthy this year, not hamstring injuries. Same with Greedy Williams.
Yeah. Is Denzel Ward, would you say he's a top 5 or 10 at his position when he's healthy?
I'd say he's a top 10 as long as they're playing him more in a man cover than a zone cover.
Yep.
He's never really played much zone. Yeah,
So he's a good like one-on-one shutdown kind of guy.
him and Greedy
More so
are
than-
both more man covers corners. And the scheme last year was probably more of a zone scheme.
Freddie Kitchens, what?
Not even him, just the defensive coordinator.
Are they all gone this year, or who's still back there? Do
The
you know?
only person that's still there out of the main coaching core is Mike. Now, I always get his name wrong. It's like Pfeiffer or something like that, who was the special teams coordinator.
Yeah, and everyone else, you've basically cleaned house, have you?
Yep, pretty much cleaned house again.
Are you a fan of this?
I like the people they've brought in. Compared to last year's haul, where obviously you and I had a bit of a chat about this in the past, and I wasn't overly happy with it. I feel a bit safer with it this time.
Yep.
But I guess the hardest part is working out where Stefanski fits into it. But it is kind of what it is. Yeah.
What was your major concern? I guess before the season started, once the fancy got announced, what were the pros and cons of him as a coach? Do you reckon? I just feel like it's leading back to coaching, because obviously it was he was obviously in the headlines so much last year. Freddie Kitchens.
Yeah, look, Freddie Kitchens was, how do I say?
Shit.
He was, but he was hired.
Get the shit house.
He was hired because he had a great communication with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, so that was his original. Yeah,
that was the reason he was hired, plain and simple.
Yep.
Why he didn't work out, though, is he had no experience. He had no idea of leadership. He didn't want the leadership.
Yep.
He just wanted to come in and do his job.
Yep.
It was a tough thing for a guy that has never led a team and had everything on his shoulders take over.
Where did Freddie Kitchens actually come from before he was the head coach of the Browns?
He's had a lot of different stops along his way.
Has he been defensive and offensive coordinators or something like that, has he, along his way?
Never been an offensive or defensive coordinator. He literally came up through as a quarterback coach and a running back coach for Bruce Arians when he was at the Cardinals.
So he'd never actually. So he went straight from a quarterbacks, running backs coach straight to head coach.
Correct.
Well, maybe that's proof that you need to have a year or two as a coordinator of some description.
Yep. Well, he had half a season as a coordinator and did well. But
right, okay.
That was the season before when they got rid of old Huey Boy.
Yeah. Once you get rid of him, you start making plays pretty much.
Things always look better. Even I think that's why Freddie Kitchens looks so good. He came in after Hugh, and you didn't have to do much. You just had to win a game to be better than Hugh.
I was going to say anything is basically better than Hugh.
Yep. So I think with Stefanski, he brings good leadership. He also brings a sense of responsibility to the team.
Yep.
He's going to try and pull them back into line, which is going to be a tough ask. But I think they can do it for sure.
Who do you think has the egos per se on the team? Like, which players could you see from an outsider's perspective? Obviously, we're not there in the locker rooms all the time, but who do you think is the players that seem to have that big ego?
I think OBJ's got one of the biggest egos.
Yep.
Obviously, Baker Mayfield's got an ego. We do know that already.
Yep. It seems to be a chip on a shoulder situation, though, which is fair enough, I guess.
I think for him to succeed, he needs the right people around him, and I don't know if OBJ is the right person.
Do you think the right person as in because of his personality, or do you think he's the right person as in he's just not the right receiver for him?
No, I think personality. Personality changes a lot. But don't get me wrong, the players need to be confident, but at the same time, they need a sense of leadership. And as good as OBJ is, he is a bit of a diva. and you've got a young quarterback that you've now surrounded by all these high-profile personalities. Like Jarvis Landry isn't afraid to express himself. OBJ not afraid to express himself, and
Yep.
then you put them into a team with a head coach last year where he had no idea how to hold these people accountable, and Baker was just terrible. His personality was terrible. What he showed to the media was terrible, and he was a lot worse than he was in the rookie year.
Yeah. So do you feel like they need a leader that's back to a more classic authoritarian stance, so your drill sergeant type, respected kind of guy, or do you think is Stefanski that guy?
I think Stefanski himself is a good hire for the simple fact that I think he'll be flexible enough to work with personalities, but he won't get walked over.
Yep.
I think, me personally, I'm going with a very opinionated thought, but I think you should get rid of Odell. For the simple fact that he is talented, but you look at Baker, and he has always succeeded with decent wide receivers coming through the college scheme, but they didn't have to necessarily
not
be
superstars,
high profile.
Or... Yep. So just run of the mill guys that get the job done kind of thing, rather than the diva receivers.
Yeah, I think Baker's biggest strength is he can throw to everyone. He's not just, I see Odell, I throw to Odell. Oh, look, Jarvis is open, I'll throw it to Jarvis. And ignore the other two guys wide open running down the field. That's not his strength. I think you'd be better off getting a few receivers who can get open, that might not be big name receivers that don't need the ball in their hands, and build an offense more like that. I think moving forward, as if I was to put my owner hat on, or even general manager hat on, you would look at their roster and go, right, yes, we have all these weapons, but we have the highest amount in our money-wise allocated to our wide receiver and tight end room out of our whole roster. It's way bigger than our quarterback room. Like Odell and Jarvis.
Who, just out of curiosity, who is Baker Mayfield's backup right now?
Case Keenum.
Right. Do you like that?
I do.
Yep.
There was success there when Keenum had his best year at the Vikings. It was with Stefanski there leading the way. So there's some good good continuity there in case anything was to happen. But I don't see anything happening unless Baker's ego is a problem. Like, performance, I think Stefanski can deal with. Ego, I don't think he will.
Yep.
But going back to Jarvis and Odell, they have a combined $30 million just between those two per year.
Wow. Like, Landry seems to be a pretty good quarterback, but is he worth that much? Are either of them worth that much?
No. Look, depends on who you ask. Odell is worth it to the right team.
Yep.
Jarvis, again, probably to the right team would have a market there.
Was Landry, where did he play before the Browns? Did he play at Miami?
Yeah, Miami.
Yeah. Was he any good there, or was he shithouse?
No, him and Odell have the highest, well, I don't think it is anymore. I think Mike Thomas claimed that, but they had the highest amount of receiving yards in their first 3 or 4 years, and the most
there you go.
Receptions in the first 3 or 4 years.
Yep. So it seems to be in my case, because I haven't probably watched them closely during their first 3 years at their other teams. It seems to be a bit of a recency bias for me, because I see them not perform amazingly, and the Browns, and think, they're underperforming kind of thing. But yeah,
look, they're both around that. I think last year they both hit the 1,000 receiving yard mark. Yeah, they did. So by standards, they're both in probably the top 10 in the league. The hard part is, though, that there's a lot of guys that the way Baker works is he just looks and goes, "You're open, no. You're open, yes, cool, you get ball." With Odell and Jarvis, he's going to look at them and give them that extra little bit, and they're not going to get open because they're going to be covered that extra little bit more. And then he's going to go, "Oh, fuck, shit, pressure's on me, I got to throw." And that's what happened last year. Is it was a mix of bad offensive line and Baker obviously not knowing where to go with the ball because of poor coaching and just having those people, but he didn't really look for other targets either.
Yeah. How much do you think realistically? I suppose the only way you can really compare it is Baker's first year compared to his second. It was his second year last year, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose you can only really NFL comparative anyway is to compare him from his first year to his second year. How much of it does it land on his shoulders for a poor season last year?
I think if you asked him, he would take full responsibility. I don't think even half, I think probably half was his fault.
Yep.
It's tough when you have no offensive line in general. Like, you see some of the best quarterbacks in the league struggle. Like Andrew Luck would struggle game in, game out. Constantly getting hit. Yes, he would perform and put up good numbers and he'd still do things, but he'd have to grind his way back into a game because he had no offensive line.
Yeah, I remember that. He just got fucking beat the fuck up, didn't he?
That's the hard part. And he had a great mentality, which made it easier for him to try and push through having such a bad offensive line. But he was also a prototypical sized quarterback. Baker Mayfield's 6 foot. He can't see over an offensive line. And when the pressure's on him, it's pretty much there. He's not overly quick. He's deceptive, but he's not fast like a Lamar Jackson who can run away from pressure.
I don't know if this is necessarily controversial, but this is just my opinion from seeing from the outside. Obviously, Baker's only been in the league for 2 years, but I mean, you're looking at a generational talent in Andrew Luck. Like, he was like the first draft pick, and you know how like the last 5-6 years there's been I wonder if this will be the first pick. Like, Andrew Luck was the first pick as soon as that pick was fucking announced, basically.
Oh, no doubt.
So you're looking at, two different quarterbacks, I guess, at the end of the day. Like you said, like the 6 footer. How big is Andrew Luck? 6'4", 6'5", something like that?
6'4", I think he was.
Yeah, and he would have got beat the fuck up. And he, as soon as Quentin Nelson got there, he probably would have given him a blowjob in the fucking bleachers or something.
Probably. But I think the personality of the players are different as well. Andrew Luck's one that I think if you kept hitting him and hitting him and hitting him, he'd just get up and go, right, let's go again. Where Baker Mayfield
you see the video of it, he gets hit and then he goes, good play to the opposition.
Yeah. Whereas Baker Mayfield is not that person. He's a distributor. He's going to sit in the pocket. Almost, I like to use Drew Brees' analysis. He'll sit back, wait for the open guy, and throw it to him. It's not anything special. Like, Drew Brees is amazing quarterback.
The way Brees basically plays, is it?
Yeah.
So very similar to that?
Yeah, he will just sit back, and as soon as someone's open, he'll get it to him. Mike Thomas gets a lot of extra yards because if he doesn't have anything, he kind of just puts it on him and goes, look, if I put it here, only you can get it. If you miss, so be it. If you pull it in, you get it. But it's the savvy of Breeze knowing when to do that that's the difference. And that comes with years of practice and breaking down and all the things that you go through. Like, Breeze was, again, fantastic this year. And I'm not saying Baker is necessarily that good, but he has a similar game and mindset in the way he goes about it. But
so that's like his potential ceiling, I guess, is Drew Brees.
Yeah, look,
which is a pretty good ceiling, isn't it?
He's got all the potential to do it. It's just a matter of if he can get the right mindset to do it. But I think, moving forward, if I was the GM, I'd get rid of both Jarvis and Beckham, bring in a couple of younger draft picks, because surely you'd get a first for Odell. Jarvis, probably not, but...
I was just going to say, speaking of draft picks, do you want to do a quick rundown of the draft picks that you've done this year?
Of the Browns draft picks?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
So, with our first pick, who did we take? Oh, yes.
I just want to get your opinion anyway, and what you think the most experts or analysis has seemed to be anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, so first pick we had was Jedrick Wills.
The tackle.
So, coming into the draft, obviously, I'm no expert, but I did a lot of research into it and had obviously my favourites coming into it.
Yep.
I really liked, which he wasn't there, but Andrew Thomas was the guy I wanted the Browns to take.
And then he ended up getting taken at number 4, didn't he?
Yeah, which fantastic for the Giants. That's a huge win for them.
Yep.
But yeah, so our first pick was Wills. I wasn't huge on it, but at the same time, he's got potential. It always helps when you have a Hall of Fame guy like Joe Thomas turn around and say, I think this guy's going to be a superstar. He was the number 1 tackle. So that.
Oh, is that what Joe said? He
Yeah.
actually thought that Jedrick was the number 1 guy.
Yep. And, excuse me. And our offensive line coach, he wanted Jedrick Wills. That was his number 1 as well. And
Yep. So obviously the Browns were going to go with him then if he was there.
yeah, so the offensive line coach is very, very well known. Callahan. He has done a fantastic job changing around a few of the teams and getting younger players into the starting lineup and having massive success. So, of recent memory, the biggest one is the Cowboys. He was responsible for building the whole Cowboys offensive line.
Which the Cowboys pretty much are an offensive line.
Yep.
Like elite. They've been quite elite for now for pretty much the whole time I've played fantasy, I reckon.
Yep. So he was responsible for that. He then went over to Washington, who had one of the best running games in the league. Bit tough with a rookie quarterback and obviously Alex Smith getting injured. But went across there, and even without Trent Williams, who's arguably one of the best left tackles in the league, still had a great offensive line without really any big names other than Brandon Scherf. Like, the rest of the offensive line is kind of nobodies, and was still quite good. So getting him this offseason was a good pickup, and for him to have the biggest faith in Jedrick Wills, even though he was a right tackle and we're going to play him at left, I think that gives me confidence that Wills will turn out fine.
Yep, I suppose from an organisational perspective, at the end of the day, that's really good, especially from a fucking future Hall of Famer. So that's good. That's good upside, I'd say. Who was pick 2?
We took Grant.
Oh well, your pick 2 anyway. Sorry, yeah.
So we took Grant Delpit, who's a safety.
Safety, is it? Yep.
Who before the 2019 season, he was rated as one of the best prospects in the draft. He had a massive 2018 college year. And then in 2019, just a mix of a few things. There was injuries, there was a few missed tackles, there was a couple other bits and pieces that allowed him to fall to us. But I don't believe...
Do you like the pick?
I do like the pick. I don't know if he's the best pick at that time. Time will tell. There's a few other guys I really liked and that had probably a bit better versatility, and you could have got a few other free agents that I really liked. But overall, I think it's quite a safe pick. I think he'll be at least a solid safety for the next 4 years on his rookie contract. I don't think he'll be terrible. He has high upside. I think it's a good safe pick for a new GM and a new head coach.
It's funny that you mentioned the free agent side of things, just because obviously through the media and stuff like that, we get shown snippets of what the teams are doing with regards to free agency and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like, if you think about the Cleveland Browns as an organisation, I guarantee you that we only see snippets of it. You know what I mean? Like, they would be doing so much work behind the scenes and looking at every free agent. So, you know, at the end of the day, there's guys out there that are going to make reports on these snippets, and most likely they're going to be true if they're substantiated guys in the field. But I'm sure there's plenty of free agents out there that the Cleveland Browns have explored that people don't even know about. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, no doubt. I think, and a lot of the time the free agents that they're working to get necessarily just come in and fit one position, not like Delpit, for example, even though they drafted him. Next year, there's safeties coming out. Like I really liked Malik Hooker from the Colts, who could have a massive year, but
Yep.
he'd be the type of player I would trade for and try and re-sign to a semi-decent contract now, because he's coming off injuries galore, and he still has high upside. But as far as what we needed a free safety, and Delpit fits that mould as well as we could have asked for.
Yeah. Do you like the fact that players can play multiple positions, like the versatility? Is that the way the league's going?
I think so. I think everyone has to be able to play at least two positions. That was something that former head coach Greg Williams was huge on. So he was obviously the defensive coordinator and then took over for Hugh as head coach a couple of seasons ago.
Yep. The only thing I'd say to that, as a counterweight to play devil's advocate for just a reason or not, but I mean, when was the last time you guys had success? So does Greg Williams really know what the fuck he's talking about, or what?
Well, Greg Williams, when he took over as head coach, went something along the lines over the first few games of, I think it was 6-3, something like that.
Oh, so okay.
Once
there
he
you go.
took over,
that's good.
It was a different mindset, a different personality. I know he clashed with a lot of people because he was very, as you said, authoritarian.
Yep.
And I really liked that. But he was also a very aggressive defensive coach, which is why they allowed a lot of points.
Do you think franchises like the Browns and the Lions have a losing culture because they buy into the losing culture? Much like the Patriots do the opposite. They buy into their winning culture because they're so used to it. So they expect to win?
I don't think it's got anything with the culture. I don't think that's a proper reason. What I think is the biggest differences between winning, I guess as you would call it, cultures and losing cultures is the consistency. So you have a look, I use the Steelers as an example. They haven't necessarily been the best franchise over the last 20 years. They've definitely, well, I think they've won a Super Bowl or won a couple of Super Bowls in that time, but they're also not like the cream of the crop of teams.
They're not the Patriots, basically.
But you look at what they had. They have had the same head coach for the last 15 years, if not more, I think, in Mike Tomlin. Having that consistency of having the same people lead your team, whether it's good or bad, has to help. Because you get a chance to know the system. You're not going from system to system to system. You get to know the players and the coaching staff, and if you have consistency around you, yes, some things will change, but you at least know, okay, if I'm still doing my job, my role hasn't changed, defense is still the same, I go out and do this. The guy next to me, I have to try and tell him that when this happens, you should do this, or they already know what they have to do. It's not everyone trying to learn a new playbook and try and learn new jobs. It'd be like me and you going and swapping jobs every 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, you go do one job and then go to another, and it's completely different. The things are still similar. Like, I use you with doing all your computer side of things and having to do all the programming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you go to another place, your computers are still going to be the same, but the software you use is completely different. So you've got to learn all that. Yeah. And once you get used to it, it's good. But imagine trying to do that every year or every 2 years because someone else comes in and goes, nah, this is a better system, we're going to use this.
Yeah, it's annoying, isn't it? I suppose it's the same across other sports codes, you know, talking about AFL and stuff like that. You look at the teams that have held on to their, you know, coaches for quite some time, they seem to be more successful. Even if they don't win premierships, they seem to be more successful. It's very rare that you see a team that's consistently replacing coaches that's successful. It's obvious, isn't it? I mean, it's written on the wall in front of you. There's a reason you're changing coaches every 24 hours. It's because you're not doing as well as expected. But there's got to be some kind of leeway. You got to give some people a chance, I guess.
Sooner or later, you have to go, right, I believe in what this guy says. I know it's not going to be a short-term fix, but we've got to look for And if you get a younger coach and can sign him, like, I'm not big on what the Panthers have done with Matt Rule. I don't know about his coaching style, but they've gone all in on him. He's the Panthers head coach. They gave him a 7-year contract.
Yeah.
And they turn around like, right, we want you to build our team. We know it's not going to be a short-term thing, but we believe in you.
Yep.
He's going to
That's
get...
very rare these days.
He's going to get at
great.
least 4 years. Like, I think it was a 7-year contract. So he's going to get at least 4 years to make a proper indent. And he's drafted a heap of young players. Not all of them will work out, because they never do. But if you can get a couple of guys in there to help build your team, over time, you're going to get more consistent and you're going to be better. You might not be elite.
Yep.
You might only need to wait until you hit that quarterback. Like, at the end of the day, the quarterback has a lot to do for a team. But I think your coaching is one of the most important things that gets very underrated as they're doing it, and the consistency to have it. Like Belichick, you talk to a lot of people, they don't like him. A lot of people that come out of New England go, yeah, I don't know, but he made me better. You talk to a lot of former college players. They actually turn around and they say, I don't like my head coach, but geez, he made me good.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's their job, isn't it? To make the players better and to make the team better. So that's what they get paid for. So
And they're not there to make everyone happy. Like, you can't make everyone happy, but
that's right.
winning makes people
it's
happy.
statistically impossible. It's statistically impossible, but that's right. That's a good point. Is that winning makes people happy, especially in sports.
Yep.
So,
And
it is what it is.
You have to have the right ownership behind you to succeed. I think, to begin with, I think the Browns are in a tough place because Haslam is trigger happy. He thinks he knows what he wants, and he's happy to go out and spend and do what he has to. But if it's not immediate, he's like, okay, let's go to the next. Like, he got the rebuild part almost perfect.
Yep.
He gave them the time they needed, but he didn't give them enough time to actually build it. He gave them enough time to build the assets, and then the media hyped it up, going, "Oh my god, they're going to win now." And I think
the media are always good at that, aren't they?
I think he may have bought into it and gone, "Well, it's taken 3 years to get all these draft picks. We need to hit, and we're going to be good now." And it just doesn't work that way. I like to look at when you're trying to hire a head coach, which is where we were going earlier, is that I don't know if Stefanski was necessarily the right guy for the Browns, but only for the simple fact I think he'll be a fantastic head coach. I do, but I would have liked to have seen someone with a bit more experience and ideally a little bit older and just knows how to deal with all the issues that come up. I can't.
The only thing, once again, I'll play devil's advocate here. Possibly, now I could be wrong here, but a younger coach may be able to. It's kind of hard because Belichick is old and obviously, But what I'm saying is like a younger coach might be able to deal with egos because he can actually approach younger players, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it's like a generational thing. It's not a typical like a 60-year-old cunt telling you what to do. It's someone that's like in their 40s that's just young telling you what to do, if that makes sense.
I think the hard part is that a lot of the struggling teams have the youngest teams as well.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily go out and get a lot of old guys that can help, I guess, tutor the players. I know you have a lot of coaches to do that, but all the good winning sides have a great blend and are usually a bit older. And that leadership and, again, consistency. They've been there, they've done it, they've gone through the grind. They know what it's like, they know all the media, they know everything that they have to do to be a professional. Yes, the young kids come in and they know how to perform and they've got the ability, but the mental part of it is a very hard part to do as well. And I think that's what the Patriots do so well, is they recycle players, right? but they're not recycling a lot of young players that turn into superstars. Most of the young players they get are average. They do the job, but they're not what you would consider a great or good player.
I like to use Richmond as a perfect example for both these reasons in the AFL, because Damien Hardwick's been there for ages and so long, people were expecting him to perform, and he didn't. And then it was pretty much at the end of his contract, pretty much according to media reports, and then he comes out and goes bang and wins a couple of premierships because they gave him the opportunity to build his team. And now, across the board, Richmond have probably, well, maybe not without Rance anymore, but they probably have 2 superstars, 3 superstars in the whole team, like bona fide superstars. The rest are average players, in my opinion, or just slightly above average players, but they are the best team in the AFL.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, you need players that can come in and play a role. I think that's something that Belichick obviously does better than anyone else. He goes out and gets players for a specific role of what he needs. I look at it and go, obviously it helps when you have Tom Brady, who, when you have the consistency again, head coach, quarterback, they've been there forever, they know what's going on, they know the scheme, they've just got that consistency there, so they can teach a few new pieces to the puzzle. They're not teaching everyone, but you can teach those few little ones to come in and do something. And for Brady, the biggest successes he's had with free agent, especially at wide receiver, have been older, more experienced wide receivers. Because when they've come in, they might not know the exact playbook, but they've had very similar ones in the past. So they use that and go, right, well, I had this exact play over here, it's just called something different with one little change. Cool, I know what I'm doing. Whereas if you've got a young player that's never seen the playbook, he's got to learn it. He's got to understand where he needs to be. And some teams, and I know the Patriots are one of them, have quite a complex playbook. Like the Raiders, for example, under Gruden, their playbook apparently is the worst. Like
as in complex as shit?
Yeah,
or
as in full on. There's so many different plays. I think apparently he has up to 100 different plays in his playbook.
Wow.
And they all have extremely long names and have a lot of protections and a lot of different things that they need to know. So players coming into that system, if they're younger and have never had to really do anything like that, are really going to struggle, which is why Gruden has always struggled with younger rookie players. Like, he's always been known as he won't let rookies play because his playbook is so complex that they just don't do what they're meant to. Obviously, he's
it's kind
changed.
of a waste then, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it is, but it's not. Like, you look at some of the best players through history have all kind of, especially quarterback, have all sit out at least a year or taken
That
time.
doesn't happen anymore with rookies. It's pretty much just thrown under the fire and you have to perform.
Yep.
It's come down to a win now attitude pretty much across the board.
It has. And the problem is a lot of quarterbacks aren't ready. They come out of college and yes, they might be talented enough, but they don't know what they're doing. They don't have the pressure. You look at Patrick Mahomes. He got to sit a whole year. Like, he played the last regular season game of his rookie season. And he was great in it. So Reid turned around and went, yep, you know what? Go for it. I'm going to give you the keys. We're getting rid of Smith. Yep. You can take over.
And the cunt took the keys to the Ferrari, and I tell you what, he's a fucking gun. Do you want to revert back to the Browns?
Yes, sorry.
I was just thinking that then. Is there anything else that you've got written down that you want to talk about the Browns? We'll probably get about 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
I was going to give a quick look into next year's stats, what I can expect from each player's or positions in fantasy.
Yeah, go for it.
We had a quick talk about it earlier, but I think the only real surprise for me, I think, for next year, or this year coming, I should say, will be the Browns' defense. I think they're the ones that could potentially go through the roof in performance.
Oh, as a fantasy team, the whole Browns.
Yeah, so the Browns as a defense, I think, could be a good one.
Yep.
Other than that, I think, yeah...
Are you talking top 5, top 10, top 15? What's your...
I think top 10 is where they should be aiming. I think they could be a lot higher. especially if they were to get Jadeveon Clowney, like they're talking about, I think would help.
Oh, is that rumoured, is it?
Yeah, so they've been talking about that. There's talks that he'll go for a $17 million contract, but wants multiple years, which I don't know if that's the best thing for them.
So is that 17 per year, or is that 17 over 2? Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, he apparently wants up to 20.
Yep.
But I don't think teams will pay it. But he would be a handy acquisition and would give us 3 superstar players at edge rusher that not many teams even have 2 of them. So if Olivia Vernon can turn back the clock a bit and not be injured, he has the potential to be a top 5 edge rusher, along with Myles Garrett, who obviously...
He fucking bats cunts with his helmet. Of course he's the best. Intimidation plus 10.
Intimidation, nothing else. But, yeah, so you add in Clowney to that mix, and although he has a few shortcomings, I think if he's in that team and not having to play every down, he's going to be fresh. And at times, he's unstoppable. So I think if you can keep him fresh and coming in, and doesn't have to play every down, but you'd want him to play a lot more than less, obviously, because you're paying him probably 17 to 20 million a year. But if you had him, because we've got the extra cap at this point in time, you'd be silly not to if you can get him for a 1-year contract. Like,
any other positions or players?
Definitely. Not really. Not for the fantasy aspect. I think the Browns are pretty limited, to be honest.
What is your expectation for the Browns this year? Not fantasy terms, in real life terms, in terms of win-losses. What do you expect them to do, and what do you think that they will do?
That's a very good question.
I think it's just one. Let's just say it's a regular season, because obviously with COVID we have no idea if it's fucking gonna be. But let's just say it's a regular 17-game season with 1 bye, so you'll get 16. So will they go? Do you expect them to go 10-6? Do you expect them to go 9-7? Less, more?
I think 10-6 is probably where they will be at. They may even do slightly less. I know. Look, and
do you think they'll make the playoffs this year, regardless of COVID?
I think 8-8 would be minimum. I think 8-8 is minimum. Yeah, I think they should make playoffs. They have a list that has the potential to be a playoff team. I think I don't know if it'll be year 1.
You're probably pushing shit uphill to try and win the fucking title, your own conference.
Yeah, look, we've got a couple of really good teams. Like, you've got the Steelers, who are not getting enough love with Big Ben coming back. You've obviously got the Ravens, who are an unstoppable force. Running the ball, which if you've ever seen any of the Madden championships from this year, the guy literally
Are you serious? He just ran
passing play. Yeah, he only ran the ball. His quarterback was a punter. No,
so who
Trez
did he?
Way.
So how did he? That's amazing. That's fucking amazing.
Yep. So he had a shit quarterback and had Trez Way as his punter playing quarterback, so he could have a left-right combination to run the ball different ways. And it was quite awesome.
You know how fucking frustrating it is in Madden when some cunt plays the same play over and over and over again and you can't stop it?
Yep. But he just kept playing different running plays, different schemes, different things, but always ran the ball, never passed.
Yeah, but like, you know what I mean? Like, if the Madden Pro is playing against that and they know that it's a run play all the time, at least they are aware of it being a run play, but they still couldn't stop fucking.
Yep.
That's amazing.
So... He's pretty much the Ravens of Madden, but without Lamar Jackson actually running the ball 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But even the Bengals could be good in our division. Like,
you never know.
They've got plenty of They've got plenty of offensive weapons. Like, arguably their wide receiver core is as good as any in the league. Like, you've got AJ Green. Yep, and then you've got John Ross, who has the potential to break out. He started to last year before he got injured.
Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Boyd. You've got T. Higgins now from Clemson.
Yeah. They do have a good wide receiver room.
Like, their offensive line's still terrible, which will make it harder for Joe Burrow, but they've still got Mixon as their running back. Like, I know I'm not talking so much about the other teams, but just in our division alone, we've got probably one of the toughest divisions. And it always seems to be the case with our division. It is quite a tough, competitive division.
Oh, well, fucking oath. They all hate each other, all the teams.
Yeah, that's it. But I think an 8-8 would be the minimum for this year. That is what they should aim for at least. And I know that's probably not a playoff record, but I think that is at least the minimum. Anything under that would be a disappointment.
Yep. Do you have any other final words for the Browns?
Just don't suck. I'm gonna buy a Nick Chubb jersey because I'm a huge Nick Chubb fan. Has been coming out of college, and
He gives you a bit of a chub, does he?
Oh yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What's his nickname? It's not Muscle Hamster. Isn't that some other cunt? That was some other running back.
That was what's his name? Martin from the.
Doug Martin.
That's him.
Oh,
Yeah.
bugger. I thought that was Chubby's. Surely he's got a
Nah.
nickname, something to do with Chubby. It has to be. It's right there in front
No
of you.
idea.
Yeah, we might have to look
I
it up.
honestly have no idea.
You have anything else to say, my friend?
No, I think I'm good, man.
All right, cool. Well, we'll end it here. Thanks, guys, for listening. And next week or the week after or whatever, whenever we get to around to recording next, we're going to do the Buffalo Shills next. So
Yes, that'll be an interesting one. I'm looking forward to hearing your opinions on that.
yes. So thanks, guys, and have a great day.